one of these massive tournaments.
Yeah, very consistent play. A lot of accomplishments there that we can have a little bit of a look at. I'm just trying to figure out the matchup here. It looks like we have got ourselves a Dragapult on the right from Alberto against a Gardevoir from Julius. So let's have a look as the prizes come down. Don't like Pheasant Dipsy being in the prizes there.
Yeah, one of the few things that is really required in our Gardevoir decks now for that draw power, but it looks like our players are getting ready. Fist bump. This is round 3 of the Bologna Special Championship, and Julius will be kicking us off.
And just to confirm, there is always just about to find out that one-off Pheasant Dipsy is prize. I did have a little bit of a gander there, and it is only one in the list. While we got a second, Alex, why don't you tell us about this Gardevoir deck?
Yeah, generally, as we're just showing there as well, Psychic Embrace from that Gardevoir EX is one of the key abilities and sort of focal points of this deck. Is where you can accelerate energy from the discard pile onto your Psychic Pokemon. It does take 20 damage every time you use a Psychic Embrace, but that's one way to start power up some incredible attackers, just like that Drifloon there, or any other attackers like the Screamtail also hiding in the deck as well.
Yeah, post-rotation, that Drifloon. Screamtail never went away, but post-rotation, Drifloon is right back in the fray. You whack a
Bravery Charm.
Thank you. You whack a Bravery Charm on there. You self-damage by attaching energy with Gardevoir, and then you can get up to some monstrous numbers, take some very big KOs. And oh look, both players have got a Monkey Dory.
Yeah, one of those really, really important support Pokemon. We'd also see an Arton coming down, so we'd like to see another route as well. But that Monkey Dory has that Adrenaline Brain ability, the opportunity to transfer any damage counters up to 3 from your side of the board onto your opponent's. Why is that important? Well, Gardevoir self-damages using that Psychic Embrace, so you can start toying around with those damage counters onto your opponent's side of the board. But just for Alberto as well, with Dragapult, when you're also kind of manipulating damage counters and sprinkling from that Dragapult EX, we're going to see some really sort of back and forth Adrenaline Brain play.
And one of the cool things about Gardevoir is because you've got to have a Darkness Energy on Monkey Dory, but because you're accelerating energy with Gardevoir, you never need to attach Psychic Energy from your hand, really, as long as you get Gardevoir out, which means you've got the time to attach that Darkness Energy as your attachment for the turn. It makes this Monkey Dory fit so beautifully into Gardevoir. So we have a couple of routes. We have a Monkey Dory with Darkness Energy attached. Frankly, not a bad little turn one for Julius as we head over to Alberto doing that first little search. And you said about Gardevoir, I'm going to tell one about Dragapult.
Go for it.
Basically, Dragapult has what our co-caster Joe has described as the best attack in the game. Does 200 to the active and lets you drop 6 damage counters on the bench any way you like. The Dragapult, the stage 1, has that recon directive ability. Let's look at the top 2 cards of your deck. One goes to your hand, one goes to the bottom of the deck. And then we got Sparkling Crystal to help out a little bit. In some builds, this is one of the unfair stamped builds though.
Yeah, exactly. There has been different iterations of Dragapult EX. It has been played with things like Duswa, or maybe even some Charizard EXs, but this is that sort of slower variant that we're seeing from Alberto. He will be going into things like that Badoo, the first Badoo that we're seeing of Bologna Special Championships. Gonna get that Itchy Pollen, I'm sure, off as we do see the Rescue Ball come down out of the deck from that Arven as well, and also an energy which is ever so important to start kind of powering up those 2 energy required Dragapult EXs, as we do see now, the Earth Vessel being played. That Genesect also being pitched away. It looks like another very useful card that people are starting to tech in.
It absolutely is. So we have a couple of Dreepy down. We're going to grab ourselves a couple of energy, 1 psychic, 1 fire. Not much energy acceleration here in Alberto's list, so getting those energy attachments every turn does become pretty gosh darned important. And of course, once you get that Badoo up with that Itchy Pollen turning off item cards, it means that Julius is not going to be able to wreck Candy, so there will be no Gardevoir next turn, which means there'll be no Monkey Dory shenanigans.
Not quite yet, but we do get the energy attachment. We're getting a Brave Badoo in the active spot as well, and we're just going to get that no energy cost Itchy Pollen first announcement of this Bologna Special Championships onto that route. It's 10 damage on. It can be transferred back over, but the most important thing has happened for Alberto's side. He has item locked Julius Kirkus from his turn.
And having that Bravery Charm on the Badoo means it's not going to be so easy to take out with Monkey Dory as it normally would be. So an Artisan being used here by Julius just goes and searches for a Pokemon. Worth noting, the Badoo that Julius might be looking for with the Artisan is actually in the prizes, so there's not going to be a Badoo off in this game because Julius only plays 1 and it's in the prizes with that one of Pheasant Dipsy.
Yeah, that's one of the other key pieces. So we'll be going into the other support sort of baby Pokemon there. We've just seen that Arton for that Cleffer, a card that's kind of come back into a number of these lists now because of that fantastic, again, no energy cost, grasping draw, which allows you to draw until you have 7 cards in your hand. We do see an Iono being played as well, so this will give Julius plenty of opportunity to see a lot more cards on his current turn and potentially the next, whilst Alberto just being that kind of just stopped a little bit. I mean, there hasn't been any sort of Dragapult yet because it's only been that first turn, but Alberto will be looking to try and build that up as soon as possible. Julius will be looking to use those Monkey Dories to really gain a bit of a stronger foothold in this matchup.
We wanted a Curlier here. I'm not seeing a Curlier coming out. With Badoo coming out, turning off Rare Candy, you really want that Curlier this turn to manually evolve into a Gardevoir next turn. Didn't have one. Played the Ino, still doesn't have one, which means if Alberto keeps getting that Itchy Pollen rolling, we are at least 2 turns away from a Gardevoir, although there is a Clefairy down now.
Yeah, super important card in this matchup. Ideally not something they would have wanted to put down right now. We are getting also a Brave Clefairy in the active spot with that graphic draw as well. But back onto that Clefairy just very quickly. Lily's Clefairy EX has that Fairy Zone ability that provides your opponent's Dragon Pokemon with a weakness of Psychic. And what is all your deck playing in Julius's deck in Gardevoir? All Psychic Pokemon, apart from that Pheasant Dipsy, of course, and the Badoo. But your attackers are all Psychic, making an easy knockout onto Dragon-type Pokemon. But it's over to Alberto now after that grasping draw, as we do see that first Draclo come onto the board as well.
Worth noting, Lily's Clefairy has 190 HP, and the relevance of that is it gets 1 hit KO'd by Dragapult's attack, which not that many basic Pokemon do, so that's the kind of game we're playing at the moment. Can Alberto take out that Lily's Clefairy before it gets rolling and starts taking out Dragapult? I suppose we'll wait and see for that. For the time being, a couple of Draclo coming out, which is going to be very useful, because Alberto doesn't just want the stage 2 Dragapult. You want those stage 1 Draclo because that is your draw engine.
Yep, just so you can kind of build up your board. Alberto isn't playing any rare candies. This list doesn't usually do so. It likes to take that slow approach. It likes to slow down the game. Board state with Itchy Pollen, with a number of other stuff as well. And then as we just have to see, potentially just another announcement, just trying to gain control of the board state whilst you build up your attackers, get enough time to get energy. One of the things that maybe Alberto has missed is actually an energy card attachment. So, that could set Alberto 1 turn back. But it's over to Julius now to try and see if there's a way to get a Curlier out, because that's the only way you're getting up to the point of a Gardevoir anytime soon.
We do get an energy onto Lily's Clefairy. You just need 1 more to be using that Full Moon Rondo. So that's nice and handy. Now we do see that damage, and we're going to see this every time. We're going to just see that damage going straight onto the bench.
Yeah, and just look at that. It's just the Adrenaline Brain kind of setting up the Dreepies and the Draclos where possible, but it's just a grasping draw for I think maybe just 1 card you have to attach to the Lily's Clefairy, which is fine, by the way, setting that up as a threat. You're just saying, well, all I need is just another energy attachment. You have to deal with this rather than anything else on my board because there's no Gardevoir right now. So it's on Alberto to try and figure out, well, which turn do I need to turn off my item lock? Which turn do I actually have to then start stretching over and figuring out is the best time to start swinging away? I think it's going to be a little bit more time first because we need more energy attachments, but we'll keep an eye on Alberto as he's going through the deck with those recon directives.
Well, the good news is we have 3 recon directives now. If I'm Alberto, there's 3 things I want. I want energy, I want Dragapult, and I want some gusting to bring up that Lily's Clefairy. I feel very confident we're not going to see a Dragapult swing until it's swinging into that Lily's Clefairy if you don't want to give up the easy return KO. Now, there is the Dragapult, and there is the energy. Do we have any gusting? I don't think we do, so I think it's just going to be more itchy pollen for the time being. And this does give Alberto more time to get more energy down on that Dragapult, given that it's not a deck that plays lots of acceleration, so you want to grind the game down until you've got that energy rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. Those brave baby Pokemon in the active spots doing their best to try and help their trainers progress this board state as much as possible. Julius still hasn't got a Curlier at all yet, and there wasn't really much going in hand. Is potentially eyeing up a Mind Bend attack with that Monkey Dory as well, as we do see the retreat into the Monkey Dory. Has a very useful attack, not just a great ability. Mind Bend, 60 damage. Will be able to start putting some annoyance on Alberto's side because he hasn't been able to get energy on his own Monkey Dories, but will confuse.
And that's the key here. It's not just the damage, it's confusion. Well, the damage is quite nice, because with the Bravery Charm, it means if the confusion flip is happening, and it fails, Blue will KO itself going into Julius's turn.
Yeah. Oh, and that's exactly why, Ross. That puts Alberto on a bit of a clock. This is the turn that Alberto has to potentially find a way to retreat and maybe start swinging away with the Dragapult rather than risking a Badu going down without having to do anything himself, and also giving items back to Julius. So great heads-up play here by Julius, just to kind of put Alberto in an awkward position.
It's a very awkward position. It's worth noting, because his Gardevoir list is so tight, the only gusting in the list is counter capture. There's no boss's orders. So Julius is not going to be taking the initiative and getting that Clefairy, KOing the Dragapult before he can come active. No, if somebody's going to do that exchange, it has to be Alberto. Now, here's what we are doing. We are switching out, but we're switching out for the Monkey Dory, and then switching it back in. Once you've gone to the bench and come back, confusion is gone, and we can be itchy pollening.
Yeah, but I don't see another energy card in Alberto's hand right now. Oh, no, he does have Luminous Energy, so that's going straight on to the Monkey Dory.
He's got a counter catcher in hand, so actually having this next turn could be very advantageous. If Julius just KOs the Badu with Monkey Dory, he will open up a counter catcher onto that Lily's Clefairy play the following turn. I don't mind this at all.
Yeah, one of the really interesting things of Alberto's list is a heavy boss's orders lineup. There's 3 of them in the deck, and one of the good things that Julius was maybe trying to think of trying to get out here was actually using that Mind Bend, potentially getting that Badu to have to force an attack. If Alberto if he didn't have a switch, he could have tried to attack maybe. If it did get knocked out, he knows Julius's deck doesn't really play boss's orders, so there's still no way of busting anything up or bringing something up with a boss's orders because it's just counter catcher and you have to only use that when you're behind. So there was lots of little intricate things that were going on in that turn, but Alberto just kind of cleaned up his board. He does just have, of course, that Badu active once again, able to use Itchy Pollen, that Monkey Dory staring down at that brave Badu. As Julius right now is just saying, well, I'm going to prep this Clefairy until I'm ready, and let's see you try and deal with it.
I kind of like this from both players. It's a very cagey opening, but I get it, because Julius doesn't want to open up counter catcher, and Alberto doesn't want to put Dragapult in the firing line with that Lily's Clefairy sitting there on the bench. So we've ended up at a bit of a stalemate here, where there's not much going on. Now we do see that Badu going up to 7 damage on there, only 17 damage, only 10 damage remaining, so can be KO'd very easily whenever Julius wants to. But now we get the Clefairy in the active again.
Yeah, and it was just a pass over because that hand is massive from Julius, not really being able to do too much other than attach an energy on that turn, so can't even use Grasping Draw. Just saying, I'm going to have to send up this brave Clefairy and see if it can just kind of handle what Alberto throws at me for the moment. Of course, Alberto, if you're able to find his boss's orders, can start doing some shenanigans. That Badu is currently at a position where it could get knocked out on the following turn from a Monkey Dory. So, but I guess Alberto's thinking, well, if I give Julius that opportunity, maybe it can happen as he does start setting up the board, cleaning up the damage counters on his big Dragapults for now, making it that little bit harder when he does start swinging away.
I don't think he's got a boss's orders in hand. I think that last card at the back is actually a counter catcher, and this is where it gets awkward because, like you said, we're going to see a Monkey Dory KO in the Badu next turn, but then something else has to come active to allow Julius to go and get an attack. And let's say Lily's Clefairy takes something out and then goes down to the Dragapult. Well, you've only actually gone 2 for 2 there, and you've taken out your opponent's Dragapult, so that's not a terrible situation. So, yeah, you really, if you're Alberto, you wanted to try and start this exchange by now, and it's not working. There goes a Badu from Monkey Dory's Adrenabrain, and now Alberto's got to put something in the active. Anything that goes active can be KO'd by Lily's Clefairy at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. That would give Julius an opportunity to go 2 prizes ahead, as we do see that promotion of that Lily's Clefairy EX now has a brilliant Rondo attack, a full moon Rondo, I should say, with the psychic energies, 20 plus 20 for each more bench Pokemon, both yours and your opponent. We do see 2 prizes now taken, but that has opened up Alberto's counter catcher. If he's actually, I don't even think he's playing. Oh no, he's playing 3 counter catchers and 3 boss's orders. Sorry, you didn't mention it.
He's had it in hand for several turns. That's why I kind of, for Alberto's side, I wanted that Badu to go down earlier.
No, and I think Alberto was playing for that. That's why he didn't heal off any damage from that Adrenabrain, the Monkey Dory, because he knows then he's playing from behind, and if he then takes advantage of this position because he's moved the damage counters onto that route, if he then gusts up the other routes, there will be no Gardevoir in play next turn, and that's one thing that Alberto's been working on right here, right now, and this is the scenario which Julius probably doesn't want to be looking at, but at the same time still has a threat of that Lily's Clefairy EX.
And that's the awkward situation. You can take out both routes this turn. You know Lily's Clefairy will return KO. It's already there. But are you then confident enough that you can take out the Lily's Clefairy, go down to 2 prizes remaining for each player with you having a better board state?
Yeah, and that's exactly the reason why Alberto's looking at just eyeing up that Blood Moon Isoluna as well, which could come in at some point to start swinging away. Does have that incredible ace spec pink card there. That's just hit the discard.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's unfair stamp, and as I like to say, it's unfair by name, unfair by nature. You get a shuffle draw 5, your opponent gets a shuffle draw but only gets 2 new cards. And now the question is, do you want to try and take out the routes? The answer is probably not, because you had counter catcher in hand and chose not to play it. So what's actually happening here is you're going to take out the Clefairy, your opponent's got a 2-card hand, you are betting that their 2-card hand is not giving them a Gardevoir.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking the potential prize lead here by knocking out this big threat of Lily's Clefairy EX in the active, taking down one of the routes and knowing that just 2 cards in Julius's hand, no real draw power available outside of having to utilize an attack like Grasping Draw, does potentially put Alberto in a fantastic spot. Of course, having utilized now that unfair stamp, it's just an item card. Alberto's still able to play supporters as an Arven comes down. We do see Ross that EXP share, which is ever so important as well, alongside that nice stretcher, because that means that he has a little bit of energy acceleration should that Dragapult EX somehow go down.
It's just a tiny weeny bit. There's only 1 in the entire deck, but 1 is enough here. If you get KO'd, you get to move an energy over. It basically guarantees that you'll have a Dragapult rolling next turn, but then you also get attachment next turn, so you have a Dragapult the following turn, you get run go with this. Dragapult is no longer an issue. So Clefairy goes down to 1 damage counter remaining, and now here comes Dragapult. Finally, 200 to the active, bye-bye Lily's Clefairy. 6 damage counters to the bench. Now, actually not taking out the routes here, taking out the Clefairy, but we still got some damage counters to play with.
No, I think that's a very heads-up play about Alberto, especially with that unfair stand that's being played. We talked about, just kind of removing a lot of the draw power, and this is one of the few things that we've mentioned, or I mentioned it already a couple of times. There's not much draw power in the Gardevoir list again anymore, especially you're having to rely on things like that Clefairy, rely on Pheasant EX. You don't have refinement anymore, Ross, and that's the biggest problem, or biggest challenge that often a deck like Gardevoir currently has. Items are now finally available, but what can you do with it? That's the big question.
And at this stage, Alberto probably knows Serendipity isn't available, because Julius had a chance to get it down on the field with a KO looming and chose not to do so. That's kind of a bit of a giveaway that it might not be available in this game. And so now Clever's gone, so your emergency draw till 7 play is out, and you don't have Serendipity, and Refinement Curly is rotated out, so now you're looking, you're just like, well, now what? Like, let's hope you do. Oh, okay, hand right now. Oh, we got Possible, he got Professor's Research. He got a new hand of 7 cards. Oh, that was a good draw off of that unfair stamp to 2. Otherwise, things could have been very hairy. Nice draw. Does he have a Candy Gardevoir? That would be huge right now.
I wonder if it could have been something that would be really important to maybe even use a Mind Bend attack on this Dragapult, because you've already seen Alberto use that switch. One of the few cards that you don't get too often in some of these lists, because again, space is tight. If you confuse your opponent's active Dragapult EX, that could be one way to give yourself an additional turn. But let's just see exactly how Julius is going to play this out, because he did get that energy attachment onto the Monkey Dory here. Does finally get his first Curlier. Does have his own ace spec for this turn as well, if he chooses to do so. But the hand is looking, after playing a couple of cards, just what can we do here? Because again, he's having to maybe take a turn off potentially, and that could give Alberto a fantastic spot. The evolution up to Curlier with the damaged Curlier is ever so important, despite being able to throw it around, but you do maneuver out of the routes is very simple, 70 HP.
Absolutely, still absolutely in the firing line next turn, but it would take a Monkey Dory and then the damage from your Dragapult attack in order to take out the Curlier. So it's doable, but it's just making your opponent do a lot more stuff. It's making your opponent concentrate the damage more into one place. Now, let's go rescue stretcher just came down. Now, that is for Lily's Clefairy. Now, had we had a rare Candy Gardevoir, oh no, it's going for Clever here actually, not Lily's Clefairy. With a Gardevoir, I think Lily's Clefairy is absolutely the choice here. And this kind of just validates Alberto's decision to get the Clever. It's been rescue stretchered back.
Yeah, and one of the important things here is Julius shouldn't really be moving that 1 damage counter over to Alberto's board to give Alberto the chance to maybe manipulate with that damage from Phantom Dive and that potential Adrenaline ability of his own. And that's something he's just going to have to keep an eye out for. We're just going to see the retreat into that Clever now. He wants to see more cards. It's not enough. He's got 5 in hand. We'll be able to grasp and draw to 2 more. He's looking to play a couple more. Then we do see the counter catch on that Serendipity EX. Maybe try and give himself and buy himself an additional turn and time. Try and draw some more cards as well. But Alberto's sitting pretty with a lot going on.
And I mean, if you're Julius here, you're like, well, I've seen him use his rescue board, and I've seen him use a switch, so I don't think he's got many options other than manually attaching, but I know it's a deck that doesn't play that much energy.
Yeah, and he's just drawn another energy card into that hand as well. And we do see another Recon Directive. So it looks likely we're going to see another sort of attachment and manual retreat here, as we do get a further 2 more, well, an extra Dracloak now onto the board. So again, getting so much draw power just from having slowed the game down enough without his own Badoo, not getting anything back from Julius because there was no other Badoo grab from the Arton, so he knew that opponent's Badoo was prized as well. Itchy Pollen's done his job. Dragapult's been swinging away. Has Horlucha waiting in the wings. Another incredible card with an incredible ability, Ross.
Yeah, Horlucha drops 1 damage counter onto each of 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. And here's the deal, right? Dragapult drops 6 damage counters. There's a lot of 70 HP Pokemon like, oh, I don't know, routes. So this one of these goes on the routes. The other one, it doesn't really matter where it goes, honestly. And then you're in, oh, and here's the boss's orders. Oh, this is even better, obviously onto the Curlier. Then you drop the Horlucha to put a damage counter on the routes, and then Dragapult gets a double KO on the Curlier and the routes. And what does Julius have at that point? Very little.
Yeah, and then we do see some fantastic play. Fire Energy attachment to the Serendipity. Dragapult EX to the active spot. Ready to roll. Phantom Dive on the active, over KOing his Curlier. And it's going to be just deciding now, just to exactly confirm what to be said. And that's the fist bump.
Yeah, that's the fist bump. Alberto takes a double KO, and Julius goes, I'm not playing this game when you've got 1 prize remaining, and I have no Gardevoir pieces on the board. Let's head on to game 2. A wonderfully played game from Alberto Conti there. Very patient for many turns at the beginning, but then as soon as that game actually got started, they just had everything every turn. It was easy. Let's go and have a look and remind ourselves what happened. We see early doors here. It was a Badoo show.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is exactly what Alberto played, and he demonstrated it with mastery here, as he had utilized his own brave baby Pokemon until it was time to try and spin or take a turn on his head. He gave Julius the impetus to try and maneuver out of the item lock, but it was on Alberto to kind of find his means with the unfair stamp, with his own Phantom Dive, knocking out the biggest threat on the board, putting Julius down to 2 cards, although we did see that Professor's Research there.
That was a good draw off of those 2 cards on the unfair stamp, but it unfortunately was not to be. And here we see the Horlucha being searched at the end. A huge boss's orders. The Horlucha bringing that route down into Phantom Dive territory, and then it was just a case of attaching to the active Serendipity, that Fire Energy retreating, and then Phantom Dive for the double KO. And Julius said, okay, you know what? Let's have a go at game 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, like I said, already mentioned, it was a performance with mastery there by Alberto Conti. And it's just incredible to watch him, again, pilot the deck so beautifully. And it works. But there's a couple of just things to keep an eye on here, Ross.
Now, the good news is there are 4 Dracloak in the deck. Yay. The bad news is 2 of those 4 are in the prizes. 1 boss's orders isn't that bad because you play 3 of them. 1 Luminous Energy is not that bad because you play 4 of them. I do not like having 2 Dracloak prizes. We saw Alberto having, 3 of them for a lot of the previous game.
Yeah, and then we do get a chance to see Julius's now prizes as well. Just 1 route, 1 Curlier. The Serendipity sticks around in the prizes again, hiding herself away. As we do get things underway for this game 2 of our Swiss round 3. Alberto 1 up against Julius. Dragapult versus Gardevoir, the battle of the big 2 right now.
I'm pretty sure you mean Monkey Dory versus Monkey Dory, the battle of the medium-sized monkeys right now, because that's what both players have started with. Having that Serendipity prize for a 2nd game in a row is actually super annoying for Julius here, because it just means that there's that point where your opponent starts playing the game, and they've been setting up for a while, and they take that first KO, and that forces you to go, right, let's do this. Let's try and make sure I can keep up. And having those extra free cards from Serendipity on that turn is huge. When you don't have that Serendipity to draw those extra free cards, things just get super annoying super quickly. So having that happen 2 games in a row is awkward. What would you rather have prized? Only Serendipity or 2 of your Dracloak?
Probably my 2 Dracloak, just because, like I said, Serendipity is so important for this Gardevoir to be able to keep drawing into sort of the right pieces. You do play heavy supporter accounts now in these types of lists, 4 Professor's Research, but that's often not enough. We just saw, if you do get unfair stamped, and generally when it's 2 cards into a big deck, the chances of drawing one of those is still relatively not that high, as you do get the energy attachment super important from Alberto's side onto that GP, and now it's on Julius to try and figure out exactly what's prized as well. Great start with an Ultra Ball, discarding those 2 Psychic Energies, getting those ready for future turns, future Psychic Embraces, but let's try and work out what actually is available in that deck, I should say, for Julius here, as he does get his first deck search underway.
Yeah, and if you're wondering what's going on here, this is a classic prize checking. What Julius is doing is putting all the Pokemon to the front of his deck there, so that he can have a very quick look and know, okay, here are the Pokemon that are in the deck, so now I know what's prized. Right now, Julius says, okay, I know I'm missing a Rouse, a Curlier, and a Serendipity. They are the 3 Pokemon that should be in my deck that aren't, so now they're in my prizes, and I have to deal without them. One thing I'm not loving is only having 1 Curlier available. There's 2 in the deck, 1 is prize. I'm playing against a deck which is going to item lock me. We all know what's happening next turn, but 2's coming out, that always happens. I've now got 1 Curlier available, table when I'm not going to be able to play Rare Candy. I'm not loving that too much, frankly. One Curlier with no Rare Candy.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but Julius does get the opportunity, if the hand permits him to do so, and get the first Itchy Pollen off here and try and slow down Alberto's side. One of the key things with Alberto's Dragapult EX, they don't need to rely too much or too heavily necessarily on the sort of items. It's just being able to get those draw power in, get those Dragapults going, as we do see that Professor's research from Julius' board as well. So there's opportunity here to try and grab further things going on, as we do get another Earthen Vessel. So we're going to see potentially additional energies come into the hands, maybe get onto the Monkey Dory, get a retreat off. There's an Artisan as well, so we'll be able to Badoo if Julius chooses to do so. But this is going to be a key decision here. It's not just the Badoo that's possible. Julius could go for the Cleffer and kind of get into the board state that he thinks is going to progress this as well as possible.
There are a couple baby options out there. Of course, Badoo is not prized this game, so that is absolutely available. What are you seeing?
I'm seeing, because it was just a one energy grab attachment from that Earthen Vessel, maybe Julius will be going for the Cleffer here because it doesn't clog up the hand with additional energies, Ross.
I agree entirely. If you see a player trying to keep the hand size small, that is a giveaway that something like Cleffer is going to be used here, because you don't want an extra card in hand that could be that key card you're drawing. And right now, Julius is going to be searching for that Curlier at least. Obviously, a Rare Candy Gardevoir in case Badoo doesn't come out, but that's not something you should be relying on. So I've just seen that rescue board in hand for Alberto with Monkey Dory having a retreat cost of 1. That is a key part. The only thing that's needed here now is Badoo itself, but I'm not seeing it in hand yet.
No, not quite, but let's just see what Alberto can work with here. Does have Arden, yeah. After Julius did play it down, so doesn't even need to matter. Can grab it whenever he wants. Does have Iono hand. Does have Brock Scouting, so we'll be able to get at least one Dracloak out of the deck. Of course, one of those few cards, because of things like the Badoo, because of things like Itchy Pollen, has come into a number of decks. Brock Scouting being able to search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon, again, really useful early on, or maybe to even grab things like the Pheasant or things like the Blood Moon Luna EX at a later stage of the game, but can also has this pseudo effect of being able to grab an evolution Pokemon, and that's exactly what Alberto's been able to utilize it for. Alberto just giving it away as if maybe I would promote this Dracloak, but no, straight into the Badoo. We're going straight back into Itchy Pollen gaming.
It's all about Itchy Pollen. And Brock Scouting's a weird one. It's a card that looks kind of underwhelming on the face of it, but when you build in the dual facts of I'm going to be item locked a bunch, and I've got draw with Dracloak, so I can afford to play support to give me a little bit less value, actually becomes a very, very useful card. This is why we see it popping up into decks like this. It actually fits in quite nicely. Back over to Julius now. We are item locked again. Do we have a Curlier? We've got an Ultra Ball, which could get a Curlier if you weren't item locked. We have Secret Box to get you all to Curlier if you weren't item locked. So unfortunately, right now, you've got Artisan, which is great if you're looking for basics. Which, to be fair, second mouse is fun. Now, once again, look at this board. Julius has filled up the board with no Pheasant Dipsy down. That, again, is pretty much giving away to Alberto. If you're a Gardevoir player, you want Pheasant Dipsy down when the KOs come out.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those things that's going to be really important. But I guess usually with the Pheasant Dipsy, you try and keep hold. You don't want it to get attacked. You don't want it to be Phantom Dive and then not a KO happen.
Okay.
You wanted to get knocked out. Well, from Alberto's side, let me repeat this. If Pheasant Dipsy goes down, it's an easy target to just deal 200 damage, not take a knockout, and then manipulate damage counters later stage of the game. So from Julius' side, he probably doesn't want it down too early if he can help it. But this is one of those scenarios because, again, we know one Curlier is prized, and only one in the left in the deck. It's really hard to get to when you don't have the supporters, when you don't have any ways of searching it because you're being Itchy Pollen.
It's not ideal. Having no items is absolutely not ideal. We do have a Dracloak down for Alberto. Try and get towards another one. He, of course, is not item locked. There is no Badoo coming down from Julius here, so Alberto's free to use his deck as he normally would. Speaking of which, here comes an Arven, which will get an item card and a tool. So one of those items coming out and can be used. And actually eyeing up that Luxurious Cape gives you an extra 100 HP to a non-rulebox Pokemon with just a tiny, teensy little downside.
Yeah, it's not just Pokemon Scarlet and Violet where we get those natures. We potentially could be getting a Luxurious Badoo in the active spot as well. But no, we're just pitching it away alongside the... Well, maybe it was a Luxurious Badoo. That's going straight to the discard pile. Doesn't need it right now. Doesn't want to give an opportunity for Julius to take down and grab 2 easy prizes if it is attached to a non-rulebox Pokemon, of course. Does get that Dracloak ready again to evolve up the other Dreepy on the board, so does have draw power now ready. We'll just be looking for more energy attachments during this, and knowing the last turn, after that Itchy Pollen, Julius did nothing in reality.
Absolutely, and once again, like in game 1, we do have a Lilith Fairy sitting there as a very enticing target for Dragapult. So if you find a way towards some gusting and a Dragapult attacking, that could be something we see in a turn or two. Right now, Itchy Pollen, more than good enough, and we're going to see that, again, like we saw in game 1, this is just going to happen until Alberto is ready. Either until Julius can really force the issue, or until Alberto is ready. They're the only 2 ways it's going to be broken.
Yeah, that hand is a bunch of items, Ross. I think there's 7 in hand, 5 items, or maybe 6, or yeah, it's not looking pretty for Julius right now. It's just a grasping draw and pass. Yeah, with 7, 2 Pokemon, 5 items, and Alberto's going, well, I can't play this Iono right here, right now. I'm just going to use my Recon Directive to get into the position where I need to. Energy, super important. I'm sure he's going to try and keep hold of that. But there we go. We do see the Recon Directive now. Ooh, actually chose to keep the Night Stretcher. Remember, does need to get energy onto the board sooner, but is in a great position because he knows the board state isn't being progressed from Julius' side. That Gardevoir is not coming out anytime soon.
One important point to note here, that damage is still on the Cleffer. So if we see Badoo using Itchy Pollen again, Cleffer will go down. It will open up a board space for Julius. It will also open up Counter Catcher, which I think might be what Julius is hoping for. Obviously, I know Counter Catcher isn't going to work because of the item lock, but I am saying that now, when the item lock gets broken, Counter Catcher is potentially going to be on the board for Julius. So I kind of like that. You clearly gave away the Cleffer there, but you did it for good reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. But Julius will know, well, I guess Alberto will know Julius will have to swing away into this Brave Badoo with his Lily Fairy EX, and will even up the prize for us. Does grab Fizz and Dipsy off the prizes as well, so for future turns. It will be live. Going to be a super important scenario here, and this is on Alberto to try and actually get that Dragapult going. Does have it in hand, can start swinging away, but that Brave Lily's Clefairy in the active spot does have plenty of HP going for it, and will be able to sort of sit pretty and soak up an attack.
And that's the thing. Once it soaks up an attack, Forming Rondo will then get the return KO. So you're basically trying to make sure that with 2 attacks and 2 Dragapult, it is going to be worth it. Now, the good news is you're going to get a lot of damage on the board. The bad news is, we hit the rotation, we lost things like Lost Vacuum. There's no tool removal now. What you could have done in the past was use something like a Lost Vacuum, get rid of that Bravery Charm, and then attack anyway. Not an option right now, but
this is the big thing. I think this turn, Alberto had to find a way to grab that unfair stamp, and he did find it from that Recon Directive. Super important. If he didn't grab it on the unfair stamp, he would have been looking for an Arven to get it to it. Does have the Flying Entry Holucha as well, so can potentially target down one of those routes with that Phantom Dive, and then only takes sort of 1 prize. We'll get 2 being taken by Julius if it does get return KO with that Lily Fairy. Opts not to Flying Entry this turn. We'll save it for a little bit later, but this is an important scenario here because he won't be able to take down his Lily Fairy EX, but has to start just trying to apply pressure. Maybe we'll be looking also for that ESP share from an Arven, for example.
I was going to say exactly that. Right now, my biggest issue with Alberto, it's not the Dragapult going down. Dragapult Dragapult going down, it's not that big of an issue. You can get another one, but you don't have energy. You need one energy on a Dragapult. Do we find it? Do we got it? We got the EXP share. That is absolutely huge. That is going to be the reason why Alberto can Dragapult next turn. That was a huge pickup there.
Yeah, so important. And this Ultra Ball kind of gives Alberto some protection from the KO as well, because let's face it, Julius is going to take down this Dragapult EX that starts swinging away, and Alberto goes, well, if you do, I'm going to draw up an additional 3 cards and flip the script and try and change the game on this head after I get an attack off here.
Now, I love this. Alberto's gotten what he needed. Get the 3 cards and flip the script, absolutely huge. Does have a boss's orders, bit too late, unfortunately, for that. It's not needed right now. You've got to attack into Lily's Clefairy, plus you've, played sport. And right now, we're doing another recon directive. And here's an interesting question, because on the one hand, you kind of want to try and get a Dragapult now to guarantee it for next turn. On the other hand, that means you don't recon directive next turn, which is actually kind of annoying.
Yeah, absolutely, but you've got to be thinking, well, put Julius down to 2 cards. Surely this is going to stick. Not like last time where Julius actually hit a Professor's Research. This time might be more than enough to move on. As we do see, I think Alberto's prepping 2 Dragapults for future turns. He gets the energy attachment onto that Dragapult, and then also with the Psychic already in hand, has that sort of Dragapult ready with a sort of Night Stretch, I believe, as we do see the promotion of a Dragapult EX, massive attack here, and putting damage counters to play with on future turns.
And I kind of like this. You're putting 3 damage counters onto each of the... Oh, no, you're doing 5 and a 1. Okay. But 3 on each would mean any Curlier would be in range next turn of the 6 damage counters. Of course, you've always got Monkey Dory potentially to play around with it later as well. But right now, you've got a lot of damage down. Now, you're going to get the KO next turn. The real question is, how bad can Julius make things for Alberto before the second Dragapult comes in, cleans up this Lily's Clefairy? We haven't actually seen a Gardevoir this series yet.
No, we
there
haven't.
was none in game 1. We've not seen one yet. There's no item lockdown. Now would be a great time to see a Gardevoir.
With 3 cards in hand, it's going to be tricky. It doesn't look pretty, I'll tell you that for sure, Ross. I think we've only got a little flash of the cards in Julius' hand right now. I think there's a Psychic, it looked like another Arts, and it looks like, I think, a Night Stretcher. So there's not going to be much going on in this turn, I mean, other than a massive swing into the Dragapult. But with no Dark Energy, no healing off and trying protecting those routes, it could actually mean there's a world where Alberto could take a massive sort of turn. I mean, that Clefairy's got, what, 40 HP remaining? And then there's a remaining left on the sort of the routes, which are 20 and 60, so 80, so there's just a little bit short of maybe kind of taking a massive full price turn, but there's opportunities here for Alberto to really just take this game and just pull away so far ahead.
Right, so the Clefairy's got 240 when you add in the Bravery Charm. It's currently got 200 on it, so 40 left. There's a route there with 20 HP remaining, so no, you could take a full price. You could take a full price KO here.
Right.
And we know we've got boss's orders in hand, and we've got Countercatcher in hand as well, so I think we can bring up the bench routes with 10 damage on, and then KO with the residual damage of Lily's Clefairy and the other routes, take 4 prizes and leave Julius with a board of just 2 Monkey Dory, and I think that might be enough for Julius to say, okay, good series, see you next season, Alberto.
We're going to have to play to every one of our percents, every one of our outs, as we do see a flip the script, more boss's orders into Alberto's hand, still has access to those recon directives as well, can potentially try and look for something like an Iono with his Countercatcher play to just make things even more trickier somehow for Julius if there's a way to try and pull out of this scenario, but we're just seeing some more cards here, I think a couple of Arvins, and there's a double Iono from that recon directive, but this is on Alberto just to kind of basically put himself in such a fantastic position.
He's got a Night Stretcher, he's got an energy, he's got a boss's orders. Those are the 3 cards I'm looking for here. So here's a Night Stretcher, that'll get back your Dragapult. So Monkey Dory here can retreat. Presumably, we're going to have Countercatcher onto the routes, and here we go. Giant turn coming up. We get to, we're going to play a Buddy Poffin for the time being. You're ruining my flow here, Alberto, but I forgive you, because this is a phenomenal 4-prize attack we are going to have coming up right now. Monkey Dory's already got the rescue board, so the retreat is not going to be an issue. We get an Ino coming down first, putting Julius down to 3 cards remaining, and this has to happen. We want to see the big KO right this second, but Alberto wants to make sure there is no way back here at all.
Yep, has to play again, to try, as if there is a world where Julius can find a way. But there's the Dragapult EX in the active, Ross.
And here we go, 200 to the active routes, that goes down, and presumably, we're going to see 2 damage counters onto the routes, that goes down, 4 damage counters onto Lily's Clefairy, that goes down, 4 prizes down, only 2 Monkey Dory left on the field, and that should be enough for Alberto to take this game 2 and the match. Can Julius find any way back with just 2 Monkey Dory?
And 3 cards, 4 to play with that top deck. What can we do here? Nestball, going to go for that Pheasant Dipsy to try and draw cards. What can Julius do? It's going to have to be something like a Mind Bend attack. If there's a world, if there's a way where Julius can actually try and bring this game back into his favour. Alberto only has 1 prize remaining. If Alberto can find just a fire energy, you can just retreat the active Dragapult EX. But if Julius can maybe Iono, Alberto down to 1, Alberto has 1 recon directive, maybe he doesn't find an energy, and it has to be something like a confused flip to maybe try and actually take this game. That's got to be what Julius has got to play for here. Flip the script, 3 big cards, Screamtail, Bravery Charm, and I'm not too sure what that third card was.
I couldn't see the third card there, unfortunately. And this is the thing, right? If this was game 1, there's a very good chance Julius would have conceded like we saw in game 1. But in game 1, you can see to save yourself a bit of time for game 2. Here, there's no other game, so Julius might as well play it out. If there is a tiny percentage chance of winning, then you're going to keep playing until that has completely gone away. I kind of like the idea of Night Stretcher here for Lily's Clefairy, because your opponent's got 1 prize remaining. Any KO wins in the game, and this will actually double up your damage on your Monkey Dory.
Yeah, super important here, but does get the Night Stretcher for that energy, so it does look like a Mind Bend will be happening here, just to try and confuse, just to try and slow down the game. Iono to 1. Can Julius find a way out of this perilous position here? Because it's so important to try and turn this game, but he only gets 3 cards himself because he's already been swinging away with his own Lily's Clefairy EX. So this is already really, really tough.
Yeah, 3 cards for Julius, 1 for Alberto. There will be no Pheasant Dipsying, unfortunately, for a little while here, because everyone's too close to winning and losing. So here we see with the Mind Bend, it's going to do 60 Is it? Is he retreating?
Are we going into Pheasant Dipsy instead? Maybe that's just what he's thinking. Well, this is the only way to maybe soak up some damage.
I think we might be soaking up damage with the Pheasant Dipsy here. Any kind of gusting, Alberto will win the game. Or even Holucha. Oh, wait, is there a Bravery Charm on the route? Yes, there is. Holucha won't win the game here.
Not yet. It will look like an energy, one of those special energy cards in Alberto's hand with a Dreepy. It's just recon directive. He's just working out whether he should shuffle the deck around first, of course, because Iono only puts your hand to the bottom of the deck and you draw the number of prizes that remain. So it's just shuffling things around, maybe getting that Genesect, because what actually we've just seen in Julius' hand as well is actually that secret box.
And if you get a tool on Genesect, your opponent can't play any ace-spec cards. So again, what I love about watching Alberto in these 2 games, it is every tiny little percentage chance of winning the game he is taking. Now, it's a Buddy Poffin and a Luminous energy. So Luminous energy gets capped. I've not seen a win on board for Alberto this turn. Nope. Is there a tool for Genesect? I don't think there is.
Not right now. So that gives Julius some reprieve here. Dreepy does come down onto the board, knowing that even if Lily's Clefairy yes comes down, that Dragapult yes is going down as well. It's going to be a massive phantom dive. Remember, no more flip the script on Julius' side of the board. He can't give up any more prizes, so that will give Alberto the game. But look at the number of damage counters now on that board state.
Now Holucha would potentially win the game, but of course there's no bench space for it, and you have to get a Pheasant Dipsy to the bench. It's all a bit of a mess, frankly. Alberto seems very close to winning this game, but Julius is trying to make it as hard as possible and just trying to say to Alberto, you've got to have this on this turn, or else there's 1 more turn. I've only got 3 prizes remaining myself. If I can just get a cheeky KO on something and I see the KO on something else, we could still make it. Secret Box comes down, Genesect, and this is what the players are just saying there. There's no tool on Genesect, so that ability is not active. Secret Box is allowed to be played.
Yeah, so again, super, super important how we pick the right pieces here. Of course, there's the Bravery Charm, that Artisan, there's that Professor's Research, there's a number of things that Julius will need to kind of draw into. It has to be Rare Candy Gardevoir if this game is to progress. Also needs an energy to the active to kind of maneuver that Pheasant out of that spot as well, but then it's got so much damage counters on it, it's just a threat to any sort of Phantom dive or anything is in reality, and that's just the scenario Julius finds himself in with just over 3 minutes remaining in the Swiss round 3. As a reminder, Alberto is 1 game up here in this series and just looking to try and take this final game down and push himself to a 3-0 record. Both these players 2-0 after the first 2 rounds. You're joining us here. This is the first round of this stream, Swiss round 3, and Alberto demonstrating exactly why Dragapult is one of the decks to beat.
So Bravery Charm goes on to Pheasant Dip Team. I'm not sure that actually helps all that much. I mean, he does save from a Hawlucha, but it's still got 60 HP remaining. Does potentially mean
could use a Monkey Dory to heal an extra 30, so kind of keeps it a bit out of range.
Yeah,
I think
right.
Gardevoir in the discard pile, so nice pressure either. Rare Candy in hand. We are finally going to get our Gardevoir EX, Ross.
With 2 minutes and 25 seconds left of the match, we finally get a Gardevoir EX coming down. But that does a lot of things. It takes that easy route prize off the field. When we see the Monkey Dory combined with the Bravery Charm, that's going to take the easy Pheasant Dipty prize off the board. And there is a chance here.
Yeah, but one thing Alberto just done correctly, he's just double-checked what is exactly in Julius's discard pile. And I believe that was a counting of 4 Night Stretchers. Therefore, meaning Lily's Clefairy will not be seen again.
And that's awkward. I wanted that Lily's Clefairy off the Night Stretcher a minute ago, but of course had to go and get that Darkness Energy. So that's a bit of a problem. You play 4 Night Stretcher, and one of the cards you want to recover a lot is that Lily's Clefairy, but sometimes you just have to get other cards as well. Seems like there's a conversation going on. Worth noting that if this game doesn't finish, the match will end 1-0 in favour of Alberto. So Julius here needs to win this game to force a tie. Alberto needs to not lose in order to actually win this match. If he wins 1-2-0, if he ties 1-0, either way, we are good.
Yeah, and this is one of those scenarios where Alberto's going to be sitting very pretty right now. It's just a retreat into that Monkey Dory. It is finally going to be that Mind's Bend attack here. 40 damage counters from that Psychic Embrace. It's going to be the confusion onto the active Dragapult EX. We know Alberto has energy in hand, but does he have another Dragapult? There's an Ultra Ball, but no energy, not enough energies. Monkey Dory firing back. Oh, he could just attack with the Dracloak.
He can, and here we go, and that is the game for Alberto. 2 games to 0. Dracloak's Dragon Headbutt combined with the damage from that Adrenaline ability means that we actually get the KO on the Monkey Dory. It took a couple turns longer than it might have done, but Alberto gets over the edge.